Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to this other edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime, the first for this week, and a week that is going to be looking at what is called high instructions. So many persons are talking about high instructions. If you ask anybody where they are going, they will tell you that they are waiting for high instructions from the government or the head of state to engage in whatever thing they want to do. We also are going to be looking at the opposition, how ready they are for the elections next year. So many persons are talking about the need for a coalition of these parties and for them to get ready for elections. And we're going to be asking ourselves whether they are ready for any elections. Should things become imperative for elections to hold this year? We are going to be discussing this with panelists who are seated with me in the studio. Two of them are already there. One is still on his way. Dr. Ndimancho Michael is here with us. He is a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon. Good evening, Doctor. And to note that he is also an author, just releasing one new book, Dr. Ndimancho Michael Tache. It is titled Noni, the Untold History of an Undescriptible People. Okay, we're going to be coming to it in subsequent editions. Good evening, Doctor. We're glad to have you, and congratulations for this another release.
Thank you so much, Mr. Liu. It's a pleasure to be here and to greet my people of Kononi and to say that it is time for us to move forward, that a people without a history and it's a people without roots, and therefore we need to trace our paths to know where we are going to. And that one of the things that I want to give back to my people is to be able to know where our people stand and to be able to trace a way forward from where we are coming from, because it's only when you know where you're coming from that you know where you're going. And that is why I came out with this well-researched book on the history of the people of Noni, starting from their origin. You realize that if you get even on the internet to know, trace who the people of Noni is, you don't really have material. You don't have anything written on the people of Noni, and therefore we say that we go to school in order to give back to the community. An intellectual is only that person who works for the people and who is able to realize things for his people. And I think that this is my little bit that I want to give to our people, and to give project our people to the world scene and let people be visible, know exactly what we're up to. Greetings to the people of Cameroon, and I thank God that the issue of Fekafoot has calmed down a little bit, and now we can concentrate on politics and be able to trace the way, look forward to 2025. And it is a pleasure to be able to talk with some opposition leaders or opposition delegates who are with us today, to be able to know exactly what is their plan, because we of the civil society, we have been struggling very hard as far as registration on voters list is concerned, and now the battle is just come for them to take over and tell us exactly, is there a coalition? Are they coming together? What is the way forward? Who are we choosing? Or they are leaving us, the civil society, to choose who we think is fit to run for next year. If they are fighting among themselves, I think that the best thing that we are going to do is to choose the right candidate for next year.
Okay, we also are in the company of Fah Elvis Tayong, who is the Undersecretary for Communication for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM movement, led by Professor Maurice Kamto. They call him the Kangaroo Man. Good evening, the Kangaroo Man. We're glad to have you once again.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kum. It's my pleasure being here today. Greetings to Dr. Ndimancho, who's equally present, and greetings to our Muslim faithfuls. By the special grace of Allah, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, we're all equally feasting with the feast of Tabaski at the Buya Central Mosque, which we say special greetings to the Imam of the Buya Central Mosque, Imam Bubakar, and also to Mr. Buba of the Royal Cable, and a host of others who are all Muslim faithfuls, so to say. But then I think greetings to Professor Maurice Kamto, the president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, and to all militants of the party who are unjustly detains at the different detention centers. We talk about Olivier Bibou-Nissak, who is the spokesman of Professor Maurice Kamto, and also we have equally a handful of others, for Professor Alain Fogue, and a host of others who are still unjustly detained with no clear-cut explanations from the judicial department of this country. It tells you we are in a kangaroo system, and that's how the kangaroo operates in a confused system. But then, local people, greetings to you all and to all the Meta people who are watching us wherever they are. Of course, home is always home, and that's why we always send special greetings to His Royal Majesty Dr. Fomiki Waters and to all the traditional rulers in Bingui Central Subdivision. Thank you.
Okay. We are also expecting Mr. Shuneh to be part of this program. He will be representing the CPDM party. He should be caught in traffic. We hope he beats traffic to be part of tonight's edition. I'll start by reading a part of an outing that was done last week by Cameroon's Minister of Labour, Gregoire Ewane, on his social media handle. He said he was responding to somebody, and he said, "I have done everything I can each time to deserve his trust, and it has been decades since I had the opportunity to receive from him through various channels," talking about the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Paul Biya, "through various channels his high instructions, and to apply them so well. So I know well, and probably better than you, by whom he gives them." It says in writing, he gives the high instruction first in writing, through his private or public interventions, through his Minister of State Secretary General at the Presidency very often, through the Minister Director of Civil Cabinet, through the Prime Minister, and also very often through the Vice Prime Minister, Secretary General of the CPDM party, also the heads of different institutions, the National Assembly and the Senate, Constitutional Council, Human Rights Commission, etc., with whom he governs, amongst others. So he is citing those channels through which high instructions are handed down to those with whom the President of the Republic is governed. So this evening we are going to be looking at high instructions are handed down by the President of the Republic, a plus, or it is being misused by so many persons within the government mechanism. Dr. Michael, your first take on this notion of high instructions.
Yeah, my first notion is that, of course, Mr. Leo, it's a constitutional issue because people have been wondering why the president has to delegate powers for someone else to do certain things for him. I think that is very constitutional because when you look at Article 10, subs 2 and 3 of the Cameroon 1996 Constitution, that empowers the president to delegate this signature to state officials within the discharge of their functions. And therefore, if we go by this article, we understand that the high instructions are actually within the law. But then the question that comes...
when we are talking about delegation of signature there, which was given to the...
Yeah, the Secretary General of the Presidency, and then a long chair, and then the General, Director General of General Affairs at the Presidency. Remember, there are three of them who have...
we are talking about high instructions. High instructions is different from that because when you read at what the Minister of Labour and Social Security says, he says, let's just follow what I'm going to say. Read. He says the President does that through writing, through his private or public interventions, through his Minister of State, Secretary General at the Presidency, very often, through the Minister, Director of Civil Cabinet, through the Prime Minister, also very often through the Vice Prime Minister, Secretary General of the CPDM party, also, and the heads of the different institutions, that is the National Assembly and Senate, Constitutional Council, Human Rights Commission. This is to say, this is different from
the signature.
Yes.
We're
talking about high instructions that are handed down.
Yeah, but then it is, to me, there is really nothing bad in giving high instruction for someone else to discharge some functions. But then when it becomes too recurrent, that is where there is a problem, because we keep on asking ourselves important issues that needs the intervention of the president, and the president only doesn't come out to talk about. We only sit and we hear on the high instruction of the president, have been asked to do this. And given to the fact that the high instructions have never ever been contested by the president himself, we are meant to believe that, okay, they are coming from the president. But on another way, we are asking ourselves whether the president is still governing this country, because that's another question we're looking at. In as much as he has never contested that he gave somebody that power, that instruction to do this or that, which, of course, it has been a bone of contention. We saw what happened with the Fekafoot and the Ministry of Sports lately, because people keep on wondering, why is it that there are sometimes too high instructions, like what we saw lately, and then when this happened, people are fighting, and the country is boiling, the country is burning, and the president doesn't come out to settle the issue that, of course, I gave this high instruction, and I am the one to settle this issue. I remember there's somebody who was asked a question yesterday, and it was asked that now, with all the two high instructions that were given, especially to Fekafoot and to Minsek, now, and everybody is brandishing a letter from the presidency of the republic claiming that it's a high instruction, and the president is not saying anything. What is going to happen next? And I remember a reputed state person said, okay, when the time shall reach, the president will get up and will give a response. We don't think that a country is governed this way. A country is not governed passively. A country is governed actively. We realize that the Cameroon is being governed passively. It means that we do not see the president, we do not see him in active service, but we see him through proxies, which, of course, those proxies, their powers are being contested. We realize that the high instructions at first were taken for gospel truth. But now people have realized that it's becoming too recurrent. Why is it that the president is not coming out to actually speak to the people, or to actually confirm certain issues, or to settle disputes when it comes to our instruction? And I mean, according to me, and from my reading, I see as if the president is taking a kind of an escapist style, so that when he gives high instruction and things go wrong, he is not blamed. It is rather the person who is carrying the message that is being taken to task. And we are worried. We are worried, especially for the fact that we do not see our president, and that we only hear about him through other people. And therefore, it now makes me believe that these high instructions are coming from somebody who has taken over a cool kind of, I don't want to call it a coup d'etat. Someone has taken power and is using it because he has the possibility to take the power and use. And that our president is no more actively with Cameroonians. And that is something to revise. So it's something to look about. Because now we have come to discover that the high instructions are not indeed high, because they are not coming from the right quarters. And if they are not coming from the high quarters, who is that is framing the high instruction? Anybody gets into a Unity Palace, he signs a letter, and he comes out with a letter to brandish as high instruction. Another person goes there, comes to the counter one, and says that is high instruction. Who is sending or signing the high instruction letters and sending people to come and brandish to Cameroonians? Have we become zombies, that everything that is dished out to us, proposally coming from the presidents of the republic, we just have to consume? This now cause us to awaken ourselves, from sleep, because there is something not moving in the state arsenal.
Okay, Kangaroo man, high instructions, is it? Yes, it's Mr. Kangaroo. Yes, high instructions has become too banal, even when a principal of a school or a minister comes anywhere and he tells you that this I did through high instructions I will receive from the head of state. Seemingly, some persons are abusing it. Even what you do with your intelligence is ascribed to having received high instructions from the presidency.
Well, I think that let me be very serious with this matter, because the high instruction phenomenon is a call for concern. And basically, we are in a kangaroo system that I must admit. And when you begin to hear a system is governed by high instruction, it means that system has expired. Mr. Shuneh, the CPD man here will understand what I'm talking about. It means the system has lost its alignment. Because you cannot have a country that is said to have rules of law, governing principles of administrative order, and at a point in time, the administrative order and prerogative has no use because the laws themselves have become redundant, caused by one man on a Trojan horse, and at the end of the day, it is high instructions now that ruled. In America, we have executive orders, but the executive orders do not function the way in which the kangaroo system in Yaoundé operates in a lackadaisical manner. I understand the CPDM man here will tell us more because he's getting set to defend the indefendable. But then, you know, in a cankerworm system that functions like a banana republic, is a call for concern. How do you understand or explain to us that people are placed in positions that they are supposed to work in accordance with the law that governs their modus operandi, yet they abandon that and they start talking about firm instructions? It tells you that there is a missing link somewhere along the line. How do you understand that some persons who are placed in positions of authority decide to arrogate powers even when they are not coming from the head of state because of their high-handed nature of executing executive order, which sometimes comes from themselves? They start lying that is on high instruction. President Joe Biden of America is quite an aged man, but he's very active. I've seen him several times in Ohio, Minnesota, and all like moving. It tells you that with the active nature of Joe Biden, I don't think a governor in Louisiana or a governor in Indiana or a governor in California will be saying that is on the instructions of President Joe Biden. No.
Yeah, but America is a federal system.
Yeah. No. Be a federal system or a presidential system or a centralized system, all is that in any administrative system in the world where the rules of law are not respected, where the modus, because anybody, Mr. Leo, that takes an office, he has a guiding principle for that office, which means you know where your powers start and you know where your powers end. But the moment that person is no longer using those prerogatives assigned to him or he or she, and begins to tell you on high instruction, there is a missing link. That's why I said that in the biggest indicators of a failed regime is when the regime operates but on high instructions from wherever it's coming.
But the president cannot also be everywhere. Cameroon is quite large. He has
he cannot be everywhere, Mr. Leo. That's why we have what we call ministerial conference meetings. Okay. Every year there's a ministerial conference meeting headed by the head of government. For the case of Cameroon, for example, we have the centralized system of government, and that head of government, known as the prime minister, dishes out the organigram for the year, which means that you would need not function on high instruction because the organigram for that year has been given to you. But apart from that, if you are the minister of territorial administration or you are the minister of small and medium size, you have your modus operandi that guides you in what you do in your respective ministries. So the issue of talking about high instruction becomes questionable because, one, it is monotonous. Two, it is used even by divisional delegates and sub-divisional delegates. In the local villages, they still talk about on high instruction from A or B. It now tells you that these persons can no longer produce on their own, and because of their failure, they only have to attribute their failure to one man. And that's why I said, if none of the five is a kangaroo system, the head of state was supposed to get up from sleep and say, no, do your things accordingly. There is a communique that was signed out by the Minister of Justice, or an outing in one of the Jeune Economique Afrique, where he himself asked members of the judiciary that do not function based on the excuses of high instruction. Now, when he made that outing, we analyzed it. It was a message he was driving across. That period of people doing the wrong things and hiding behind high instruction has expired, which means you are held liable if you go wrong in your judicial proceedings, and not to say that it's from high instruction. But why was he saying so? Because at a point in time, the judiciary, which some of the CPDM psychopaths pretend that it is independent, has always been getting high instruction from the executive. And that's why I said, when you have political cases are always manned by the executive, while cases that are less political are manned by the judiciary. But we understand that there was a time of an election that took place and the results had to be read. and the person, the chief judge who was reading the election equally, made clear that he is reading what he is seeing, which means that his hands were tied, and he said, my hands are tied. Now, we are all witnesses to what happened in this kind of scenario. What does it mean? It means that the issue that they were teleguided by some invisible somewhere is what has been causing what we call on high instructions or firm instructions. At the end of it, the only indication is that the system has expired. Even a man that goes to behave abnormal, imagine, parliamentarians are in their session now, senators are in their session, they are already drinking wine, champagne, and blowing grammar in Yaoundé, in the corridors of Yaoundé. But at the end of it, what is their impact? If they want to come out from there, those who are of the ruling party will tell you that Papa don't said me, I can't do so. I have that in my village. That they come to give things to the needy in Bengui, and Papa don't talk, say, when the people have never seen Phobia, you can imagine how people arrogant and tell lies in broad daylight, orchestrated by the ruling party. That anything you want to do, it is Papa who has sent us. So it means that they themselves as parliamentarians, they themselves as mayors, they themselves as senators, do not know what they are supposed to do. Until Papa tells them something, they cannot act. Okay. It's a redundant system, expired in total.
Yes, Mr. Shuneh, Alicia, you are here to make us understand better how these high instructions function. Are some persons not also abusing it?
Yes, Mr. Leo, we are always around to edify public opinion on the trivial issues like this. I want to begin by appreciating the humility of the kangaroo man, who believes that I am better placed to edify public opinion on the very important state issues like this. And when I just stepped into this studio, I was caught by the ranting of a soothsayer in the person of Dr. Ndimancho, who believes and questions the fact whether the head of state is still governing. Permit me, it's a soothsayer. It's a soothsayer. I repeat that I was flabbergasted to hear a soothsayer in the person of Dr. Ndimancho questioning whether the head of state is still governing this country. It will only take a soothsayer to make such an allegation. You bear with me that most Cameroonians have been caught between the discrepancies of their biased thinking and egocentric ideologies. I love the fact that Dr. Ndimancho started by illustrating and substantiating high instructions, which means that it is a process within a democratic and legal system. And I wonder why they will be doubting high instructions from the head of state, because the head of state himself has not contested these high instructions. And we followed with a lot of keen interest on the 10th of February 2024, when the head of state came up to address the youth of this country and gave high instructions to the Minister of Youth and Sport to regularize the football sector, which is a very strategic sector in consolidating unity in this country. And we have seen what the minister has been doing following the high instructions from the head of state. The bottom line is that the head of state has been issuing high instructions since his ascension to the supreme magistrate of this country. But why only now? Only now because the high instructions were contested by somebody. And that is why political charlatans have now hung behind it to believe that somebody in question is impersonating the personality of the head of state. But let us be very clear, because where their confusion comes in is that either the instructions are coming from the president of the republic, or they are coming from the presidency. Because directly or indirectly, they have indicted some senior state officials who work in the presidency of the republic, claiming that these instructions are coming from them and not coming from the head of state.
Now, persons who went down to Boya some years back are claiming to be coming from the presidency, and they collected huge sums of money from persons, but later on discovered that they were
this doesn't stop the fact that in a political environment, you always have criminals who infiltrate the system. But I think if these high instructions that is raising eyebrows actually now in this country was being perpetrated by people we consider as criminals, I think the presidency must have already contested it, because they are doing it in Mondo Vision. They are doing it on public channels, and everybody is watching. You know that it is the controversy between Minsep and Fekafoot that has caused this cacophony to come up. But I always say that this African adage goes that no matter how great a man is, he cannot win judgment against his clan. Within the context of rules and regulation governing the management of football, and going into the protocol of accord signed between the Ministry of Youth and Sport and Fekafoot, I think that administratively, Samuel Eto'o might be within the context of his football management, but you cannot publicly contest high instructions from the President of the Republic when he did it in a public speech on the 10th of February to the hearing of all Cameroonians, and the international community was not excluded. So I am edifying public opinion that high instructions are within the context of any democratic system, and Cameroon is not an exception. And high instructions have been coming from the head of state since he ascended to the Supreme Magistrature of this country, except for now that his mandate is coming to an end, and we are mobilizing for elections, and political pundits think that they can hang on this and use it as a weapon to destabilize this very peaceful nation.
Yes, but what is the problem? He raised that in every system that persons who come in to try to truncate the smooth functioning of it, and you also read out how constitutional the president has the powers to give out, to delegate some powers to some person. But is it only because of this Minsep and Fekafoot issue that we are questioning the high instructions, or we have had previous occasions that actually started casting doubt on whether all of these instructions effectively came from the President of the Republic?
Of course, we have come to understand that the president is in existence.
Before you can't see that.
No, because
he's there. Yeah,
he is there, but
he's there. Yeah,
that is why we are contesting the high instruction, because we don't see him.
February 10, he addressed the youth.
Okay, let me go back to you.
He was there.
Of course, he is there, and not that you can not be there. Shuneh is sitting here by talking what Cameroonians may not actually feel that it is the Cameroonian talking. Yes, because when you sit here and you use a language that doesn't even help Cameroonians in any way, it means that you don't have anything to offer to Cameroonians as a CPDM militant. It means that you, in one way, you are just like a zombie. That is the issue. Because you come to a panel like this in order to edify Cameroonians and say what is meaningful.
So he was right to say you are a soothsayer. How do you call him a zombie?
No, of course, because he knows that I see ahead. A soothsayer to me is not an insult. It's not an insult. It is actually that I'm able to see ahead. So what I'm seeing ahead is that there is a lot of inertia. There is this issue of lack of initiative in Cameroon because of high instruction. You find that even the prime minister will go to inaugurate a place or to do a little job. You say it's under the instruction of the President of the Republic. It means that in Cameroon now, nobody has any initiative to do anything any longer, because all is on high instructions. Now, there are a lot of things that are into it. Ministers are under high instructions. Now, even when President Paul Biya promised to supervise the ring road, he was still under high instructions. And that is why today we have seen most of those promises are not being fulfilled. Olembe Stadium, just at the news of the presidency, it was still under high instruction. And we are wondering why over 160 billion francs has gone to that stadium. And of course, I saw that on your page today, Mr. Kum. And it is already dilapidating. It is flaking and peeling. And 160 billion francs has not yet done what Olembe Stadium is, has not given the image that it's supposed to be. It was still under high instruction. People embezzle money through high instructions. COVID gate was through high instruction. Olembe gate, high instruction. And all of these things are high instruction. And then you tell me that there is somebody who is actively leading Cameroonians. And that's why in 2014, I listened to the December speech of the head of state of Cameroon, who said the state arsenal has been weakened and that people need to rise up to their feet and serve Cameroonians. I mean, the president decried that nothing is moving. Why? He is supposed to understand that it's because the country is running under high instruction. And when they give high instructions, there is no supervision. High instruction, there is no stock taking. And that is why we are where we are. Now, you see that he, as a president, who is supposed to be the leader of the sheep, that we know what managers they do. You don't just give instruction to your subordinate and then you stay back and then you are contented that things have been done. And that is why, even in state institutions, you have, at a level of universities where I know, you have a dean appointed by the President of the Republic, the head of department, maybe appointed by the head of the Republic. And when there is this issue of appointment, high instruction, there is insubordination. Why is there insubordination? Because when you talk, somebody will tell you, I have the same decree appointed by the president as you did. And therefore, there is no respect. The whole place is a chamber. The whole place is disorganized. The whole place is a banana republic. Cameroon is being ungoverned because of high instruction. And we have seen this happen, that it is high instruction that is keeping this country backward. We are not moving forward anymore because people get up from their sleep and they can even, people are now coming with the issue of high instruction. And Cameroonians sitting and just watching because they fear. They know that the president has spoken. At the final analysis, they are waiting for the president to be able to take stock and to tell them that, okay, this instruction I gave here, this work was not done, and I want to take stock, and this person who was giving this high instruction, since he didn't do this job, I am going to take him to task. He is supposed to respond to his act. We do not see that happen. And how can Mr. Shuneh sit here, well-dressed and elegantly, tell us that the president is ruling this country? If that is the image of somebody ruling, then we think that next year should come very fast, because Cameroon is not being governed. A country is governed actively. When we hear that an incident has happened, we need to see the president come out and actually condone. We have had many incidents here in Cameroon. Somebody quoted the US, where you find the president almost everywhere. And the president takes talks almost every evening with the ministers and is able to act the following day. But we have incidents that happen in Cameroon. We have accidents and nobody comes out to say anything. We have ministers arguing among themselves and nobody comes out to say anything. We have cases of embezzlement, money that is supposed to be used. Cameroonians are suffering and nobody comes out to say anything. And the only thing that we hear, the only time that we hear the president, how can we hear the president's speeches 2 times a year? 11th of February, 10th of February, and the 30th of December. How can you tell me that, of course, you have a father who only sits and he doesn't even speak to you, and he chooses just some moment, 2 times a year to speak to you, and then you tell me that the country is being governed? And, well, we have understood. That is why you people keep on putting, if you, go to every office, you only see by the photo of the president of the republic. According to them. And when an interview is being granted, everybody is shifting to the photo of the president to make sure that they portray the photo of the president of the republic, because you are not the one doing the job. You think that is the president of the republic doing the job. He has given you that mandate to work in that office. If I were even the president of the republic and you do that thing, I come and tell me it was through the instruction of the president of the republic, I will sanction you, I will dismiss you from that job, because I appointed you because you were competent. Now this now makes us believe that most of the people who are appointed in Cameroon is through the network. They are not competent. Because if you do anything and you tell me that this is what the president of the republic told me to do, where is your own initiative? Where is your own knowledge? Where is your own intelligence? Where is your own, are you a technocrat, or you are just kept there to sit and listen to instruction and carry out? And of course the instructions are not even carried to the letter. This is what
but
we tend to do.
Okay, that is what is happening. So many messages are coming in. Yeah, but is the president not also giving these high instructions to ensure that, because he was voted on a manifesto, he presented a manifesto to Cameroonians and he was voted on the basis of that, and he's making sure that, okay, you are minister of this, you are director of this, let me from time to time remind that, please, this is not working well, so I have to remind. Okay. High instructions could be likened like always reminding people on what they, yeah.
Mr. Kum, I like the way you put it. High instruction could mean that he is reminding. He's reminding. I like that. He's reminding. Okay, I like that, Mr. Kum. Now, let me just say this thing clean and clear before I start blowing different grammars here. It is wrong. You want to hear very well. For you to be the head of state and you are reminding people of their duties or what they're supposed to do, it is an administrative order of an expired government. Are you hearing? When you take over power as the president, you have a cabinet. In other countries, you appoint a vice president, and the vice president, like in Kenya, appoints his cabinet. In Cameroon, you appoint a prime minister who is head of government. You still go around appointing ministers, plus GOs and all the like, right even to chief cook you are appointing. I don't understand the kind of system we have. But one thing is clear. In a system that is not kangaroo inclined, what you do is that the moment you are taking, I was talking about ministerial meetings. I said ministerial meetings are always organized. What is the reason there? To remind the cabinet members, ministers, through the prime minister of the agenda for each year. But if President Paul Biya thinks that to remind them the meetings that the prime minister hosts, ministerial cabinet meetings, which almost every year, is not enough to remind, such that they have to remind through high instruction, it means Yaoundé failed on arrival. Because when I listened to Mr. Shuneh here, when he was reacting, he said the fact that high instruction is coming means that I have acknowledged that he is here, and of course he can do this, he can do that, and it shows that it goes within the process. It shows the process of democratic and legal system. This is what the CPD man says here. It demonstrates a process within a democratic and legal system. That's what he said.
Yes.
And you will imagine that when I tell them people don't have anything to offer, they resort to using jargons and adjectival phrases to confuse the common Cameroonians without going straight to the point what is supposed to be done. You cannot tell us that firm or high instruction is because they are reminding people who are supposed to be on the know of the government's plan. I think when I am appointed as a minister, the next thing is that I am briefed. The what they call briefing. And this briefing takes two phases, Mr. Kum. In other public administration, there are two ways of briefing. One, you call official briefing, where you are invited officially, and there's two, briefing by correspondence, which means that from time to time, the powers that be it at the secretary of the presidency or the prime minister, they always send a note to your ministerial department. So, first of all, sometimes it's confidential to you, reminding you of certain things. Now, when it's coming and they're reminding you, it doesn't mean that you will keep singing high instruction. Because what I said clean and clear, when a CPDM official defends high instruction, is because the government in Yaoundé no longer has what it takes to offer what they have to offer. So they resort now to gimmicks of high instruction. How do you explain, as my brother said, all what Dr. Ndimancho is saying, you know, it's like what we say we want to destabilize the very peaceful nation. I had it yesterday, I noted down. This is a CPDM man who says what we are saying here is to destabilize this very peaceful nation. To him, Cameroon is in peace. When gunshot almost killed me in Boya, Far North region, shooting and all like Kolofata, people have escaped. Northwest region, it is disorder up and down until we are hearing that some people are saying they should change call of taxis, government is doing this, SDO is banning his own. And the CPDM man says peaceful. When the CPDM senators and parliamentarians in Yaoundé refuse to talk about the peaceful aspect that is required in this country because they are concerned with their pockets, what they go at the end of each session and the what we call minimum package whatsoever, that's what they're interested in. And the CPDM will tell you that anything you say, because you want to correct the archaic system of administration, he will say you want to destabilize this very peaceful nation. According to the CPD man here, we are in peace. If he was in Boya, he himself would have slept in the toilet on the floor to understand that the guns should be heard. It does not tell you that the absence of guns in some areas means there is peace, Mr. Kum.
Yeah, but we are talking about high instructions, Mr.
High instruction linked to peaceful, as we stay here, is an anomaly.
I'm sure the president has given instructions for peace to return.
For peace to return?
Yeah, but people are not following.
Mr. Kum, any instruction you give that is not reflecting the realities on the ground is a counterfeit instruction.
Okay, Mr.
It means the government expired on arrival. The CPD manager knows I'm talking about.
Mr. Shuneh, the president has not only spoken about the issues of plaguing our football, I'm sure, addressing the nation 2013. You remember that speech at the end of 2013, where he asked why there was so much inertia in Cameroon. He was asking why things that work elsewhere are not working in Cameroon. He raised so many questions. I'm sure instructions were given for these things to be fixed. Last year, end of year address to the nation, he raised the issue of embezzlement and talked about COVID gate and some other things, so many things. But the year went through and we did not see most of the things that he raised at his end of year address being done on ground. Is it that he gives his instructions and some persons are not implementing them? Take the example of the Minsep Africa food issue. We have seen it drag for months when actually the president made something, a declaration on that.
Yes, Mr. Kum, I totally agree with what you have said, and I concur with the fact that in 2013, that is a question that the head of state raised. There's a high rate of inertia in this country. There are some unscrupulous politicians who are promoting phobia for the government of this country, as has been demonstrated on this plateau by the kangaroo man, pushing Cameroonians to develop that phobia for the government of this country, to the extent that some of the Cameroonians are like giving an ear to them. You would realize that the head of state, on high instructions, informs the Minister of Public Works to start the long-awaited ring road in the northwest region of Cameroon.
And works are ongoing.
Works are ongoing, but you see the stretch between Wom through Bafut to Bamenda.
It's horrible.
What happened? You did publish it on your page.
Yes, I've done that.
You know that the Génie Militaire went there and started doing work. And what happened? The voices, after having been capitalized by what some people sit in studio here and say, went and bent down those caterpillars and killed 4 military engineers. That is the campaign that some people have involved themselves in, to create that phobia even when they want to do good for themselves. You know, His Excellency Paul Biya is the only member of government that received the mandate of Cameroonians to govern them. The Prime Minister and his entire government are Cameroonians that the head of state has appointed. And having been appointed, the Prime Minister and his government, they are implementing the vision of the head of state.
As contained in the manifesto?
Yes, they are implementing the vision of the head of state as contained in his manifesto that he presented to Cameroonians before he was elected to this high office to lead this nation. To that effect, it implies that for that his vision to be implemented to the latter, the head of state once in a while sends high instructions to these his lieutenants that he has appointed in the field to meet up with his mission. I don't know where and how it is worrisome. I don't really know where and how it is worrisome to politicians, to civil society activists who have not demonstrated any iota of patriotism to their nation, all they see are errors from the head of state. You cannot make a correction by using a wrong example. The high level of inertia that we condemn in strong terms in this country is being promoted by some Cameroonians who believe that they can use any unscrupulous means to ascend to power, so they can say anything to the best of their satisfaction to meet their egocentric intentions. And we are saying that Cameroon is a peaceful nation. The head of state has done everything within his possibility and capacity to bring back peace in the restive regions of this country. But we know so very well the amount of youths who are dropping their guns and coming out in Mondo Vision to regret why they ever picked the guns. But we so very well know, as I earlier said, that they are unscrupulous politicians who want to use the platform of these boys to be able to convince Cameroonians to push them to ascend to power. And we say no, it can never happen, because Cameroon is a state of law and is governed by somebody whose mandate was given to him by Cameroonians, and he will go to the end of his mandate, and if possible, if renewed again by Cameroonians, if they bestow their confidence in him, I think he will continue.
Okay, this one says there is no check and balance in the country. Everywhere it's just high instructions. Where are we going to in the country? Okay. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the cream of panelists. A government ruled by president who claims to act on high instructions is one of skepticism and concern. When a leader is not transparent about their decision-making process and hides behind vague directives, it can lead to a lack of accountability and breeding ground for corruption. In this scenario, it is important for the public to question the legitimacy of the so-called high instructions and demand transparency and honesty from the government officials. Exploitation of this phrase can be a sign of a government that is not operating in the best interests of its citizens and instead using it as a shield to cover up their own wrongdoings. Ultimately, a government should be held accountable for the actions and decisions, and relying on obscure instructions is not a valid excuse for any misconduct. Okay, good evening to you there watching from Punberry. Song Derek, this one says, why should a country's constitution be abandoned to high instruction? It is a shame. Government, please get back to the country's constitution and stop high instructions. Okay, David is writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Kum. My papa don't send me for una. They do so in order to secure their jobs or prove to the president that they are working. Chonkwi Elvis, writing from Konsamba, says the issue of high instructions may exist in reality, but I believe it has been exaggerated by our ministers in this country, Cameroon, because they have made the president to be omnipresent. That is being present everywhere at any time. We hear on daily basis as follows: as instructed by the head of our state, as prescribed by the head of state. We thank the head of state. We have been seeing this from our leaders. To me, it is very abusive to a country like Cameroon. I want to urge the speakers on the panel to be honest and speak the truth. The way they are talking, it seems they are all literature students with grammar. Okay, Ngwese from Swaya on this says, my first question is a country governed by high instructions or the constitution? Secondly, is high instructions synonymous to the right from the president to a minister to violate the law? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and I thank you for the mind-blowing program. Indeed, high instruction has become a sing-song. If nothing is done, nobody will not believe nor respect high instructions. Not long from now. To add, Mr. Liu, the quality of panelists are okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Doctor and Kangaroo Man, thanks for your good insights to educate and tell Cameroonians the truth. The too much confusion in the so-called instructions clearly shows that there are more than a dozen rulers of this dot of a country. Masu is writing there. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is Lemfon writing from Bamenda. Greetings to all the panelists. High instructions can only bring about abuse of power when the channel of the discharge of these high instructions are not clearly defined. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is by Dr. Shuneh. It means that if high instructions was not given to the Minister of Youth and Sports, he wouldn't have used his own initiative. It means that the minister is incompetent. Richard is writing from Bamenda. Mr. Liu, good evening. High instructions are now a new means of selling positions in Cameroon. Thanks to Eto, we have now discovered that some are fake. James is writing from Yaoundé. Yes, but let's look at the issue of competence of those who are appointed, who always say instructions received from the almost everybody says that instructions received from the President of the Republic. It means that the President also does not sleep. He does almost all the thinking and the actions.
Yeah,
he works throughout because
he's a workaholic.
it means that the ministers are robots.
The head of state is a workaholic.
Yep.
Mr. Liu, they are simply being governed by the CPDM kind of orders, consensus, to make sure that when they, it is an agreement. They know that before you do anything, you have to first of all call the name of your chairman. That is what happens. It's not because the president gives them midnight orders to do what they have to do. It is simply because they are being ruled by a code of order, And anybody who doesn't do that, there is always that article. I don't know. Mr. Shuneh will tell us what article ostracizes people from the party. So we have had also people in the CPDM who have been like Mr. Nyamji, of course. I don't want to quote other cases. But what we are trying to say here is that the issue of high instructions, where each time you want to do something, you talk about high instruction, it shows that you are not accountable to the people for whom you are appointed. Now, I want to ask a question. Are the appointees answerable to the people under whom they serve? That is a question. And again, let me ask the higher question. Is the President of the Republic accountable to Cameroonians? Because when he gives high instruction without any checks and balance, and then tomorrow he doesn't even tell Cameroonians whether the high instruction yielded fruits or not, is he accountable to people, to Cameroonians? No, because there is a minister in this country who is still in active service, was a former Minister of Communication, who said, I was appointed by the President of the Republic, I render accounts only to the President of and not to Cameroonians.
Correct.
And you say it's correct. It is not correct. It is not correct. The President of the Republic appoints you to render services to Cameroonians. Your praises, your thanks to him should add nothing to the President of the Republic. Rather, it is your service to the nation and to Cameroonians that should add something or gratitude to the President of the Republic. And when you sit there and say, yes, that you are appointed by the President and therefore should render accounts only to the President of the Republic, then I think that there is a problem. Then we have a long way to go. So it is a serious problem. So I think that the appointees are supposed to be at the service of the people. So, and the President of the Republic is supposed to be answerable to the people who voted him, who elected him. That is the thing. He is supposed to be answerable to them. It is something we are talking about. I am not landed anywhere. You are the one floating in the air. And that's why I'm saying that when you keep on giving high instruction, people talk about high instruction he has given, and nothing is moving. Are high instructions in themselves, are they incarnated into work done, into things that we can touch and feel and eat and fuel our cars with? This is the question I want to ask. Because when you see Camerooners keep on sinking and getting into the precipice, getting into the mire every day, where escape is America, and we don't even know when we are going to come out from this mire. And Cameroon becoming poor and poor every day. People living on less than $5 a day, and then you tell me that it is okay. That high instruction, are they just for its own sake, or they are intentional, just to give impression that the President of the Republic is awake, is active, is working, or is just for his own sake? Because if the high instruction were doing something, for example, if the Minister of Public Works was listening to our pleas and constructing routes as we are we see things being done, or the Minister of Sport doing things that we are supposed to see them done. Look at the Olympic Stadium that we are talking about. If we are seeing things being done, as the Minister of Public Health was doing things and we are seeing them being done, look at the COVID and all the other scandals that we have had, then we will not be questioning the high instruction. We are questioning the high instruction because they are given for their own sake, and that it is just as if they just want to let Cameroonians know that something is being done, which of course is not being done. It's like you waiting for Godot, waiting for someone whom no one can see. That is what is happening with the promises in Cameroon. That you give promises and Cameroonians, they keep clapping and they are waiting for those promises, and then just to understand that those promises are themselves empty. So we are questioning this, because when you say that the high instruction, the president working because give high instruction late at night, we would have really love to see even, stocks taken also late at night. How can we be given instruction to do something? There's what we call debrief. We who teach, if you give work to students and then you don't do what we call the debrief, means that what you do an evaluation of whether your children have understood what you have done. You all learn together, then you have not really taught, because you have not taken stock, you have not done an evaluation. So we are seeing that Cameroon is a Cameroon of instructions that are just being given, and now this has further gone to expose the fact that most of those appointed in Cameroon are appointed through networks, because they are not technocrats. Because we thought that they are supposed to be technicians who are appointed into different ministries or in different departments. But now if you are appointed as a technician and then you come there, you are given cahier de charge, because normally you have your cahier de charge, you have your job description that you are supposed to do. And each day that you get up every morning to go and do your work, as you arrive the site, you tell the people, or you tell whoever is concerned, the president has asked me to say that. It gives a lot of impression that you yourself, you do not know what you are supposed to do, and then the president appointed you and asked you to do this or do that, and right up to the prime ministry. Then the prime minister will go to Bamina and say, President, don't talk, say. I think that you are supposed to take your responsibility into your hand and show to the president of the republic that he appointed the right person at the right place. That's what we call the square, or peg in a square hole. Not that you keep on asking the president to tell you what to do the next day. Is that what you are telling us, Mr. Shuneh, representative of the CPDF? You are not supposed to ask the president what to do the next day. You are rather supposed to look at their job description and do what you are supposed to do, and then report to the president that I was a mere servant. This is what you asked me to do. I have done it to the letter. Okay. I have done it to completion. Okay.
Bongui Remedies is watching from Gaunduri Ngole. Ajebe Charles Angole says, I'm watching from Ewane in Bamuso subdivision. Bali Denis is watching from Malabo. Kesi Chuye is watching from Bonaberi. Douala Obase Tilili is watching from the southwest region, Boya Fako. Makive Titi is watching from Douala Toga. Samuel Ndang is watching from Bafusa. Zuma Africa is watching from Bamenda. Bawe Vincent says, good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm watching from Tabenken village in Kambe Central Subdivision. Samuel Ikechi says, I'm watching from Douala. Otu Ngaji Clement says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Okay, I'm watching from Bamenda. Bismarck Mboli Tetes is watching from Kambe. Fonyi Braina is watching from Bamenda. Ngala Yvonne Bongbimi is good evening, Mr. Liu. I am glued to my screen following up attentively. My regards to the panelists. Please, on very high instructions, tell our kangaroo man to kangaroo Nikali hammer on the election exercise. That is around the corner. Tell him to encourage Cameroonians of voting age to go and register, because if Cameroonians fail to carry out their civic duty, they should be assured that they are still going to be kangaroo-nized. I'm watching from Yaoundé, okay? Suveval Juvet is watching us from Limbe. Pavel Tapaki is watching us from wherever you say through your phone. Silas Nganko Tiko is, says, good evening, Mr. Liu, watching from Douala. Job Freddy says, greetings to you all in the studio. I'm watching from Tambesi Quarter. Maritung Kwen Bamenda Tangong Eric is watching from Betwa. Divine Ngong says, I'm watching from Bamayo. Anja Brown says, good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm watching from Boya. My warm greetings to Fah Elvis and the other panelists. Kenneth Ngale says, Boya, sir, I'm youthful of ideas and contributions. I would love to be part of your program to debate one day. Okay. Kenneth Ngale, just get to me after the program and we'll see if you can be part of us. Nevis Buizenui is watching from Bamenda. Mba Kavrin is watching from Bamenda. Belvi Elodin, good evening. Watching from Bambili. Ngwa Richard says, Mr. Liu, good evening. Your program is very important. I'm Richard Neba watching from Yaoundé Simbok. Slash Cool says, hi, Mr. Liu, watching from Womb. Good evening to you. Fundu Shibu says, greetings to all of you in the studio. I'm watching from Balmayo. Elbless is watching from Bafusam. Nunchak Simon is watching from Bamenda. She Terence is watching from New Layout. Mo Ibanga says, I'm watching the Kangaroo Man from Mamfi. Genevieve Nwek says, good evening, Mr. Liu. And Panelists K, I'm watching from Loom. Fiona Shalom is watching from Kumba Foncha. Reju Nash says, I'm watching from Mokoko Abana. Elvis Nkwan is watching from Bamenda. Mirabel Weber is watching from Limbe. Oops. Okay, the Kangaroo Man. Now, maybe some people are also exaggerating. You go and do some work, maybe in Womb or Ibanso or wherever, and once you see the cameras come around, you say high instructions, so the instructions, they may be exaggerating also.
Yes, the people may exaggerate, but we cannot blame them. They are simply producing.
The president may have given you his confidence based on your competence, but instead of showing what you know, you keep saying that instructions from the president.
Mr. Kum, as I said, I as a person will not blame those people who sing those songs because they were incorporated into a kangaroo system that has the song mechanism of haute instruction. That's what they're doing. Because if a delegate is doing that, he has seen his minister does that. He has watched his regional delegate do that. He has watched the governor and the SDOs do that. So it is now part, and I said, a country that is confused, like the one these people are governing now. That's how they function. Because we don't have anything to offer, you start talking about high instruction, on the high instruction. That's why I said, those who say that we cannot blame them, because a government that is not a sleeping government will call you to order. I don't think you can do that with Faye's government in Senegal. He will call you to order. Yes, because Faye himself, it's not a matter of what you can see. The footprints are clear. That is the president in Senegal who has stopped all official welcoming at the airport. That's somebody who wants to work. That each time he goes and is coming in, people go and line up as you fight at the Simale airport, where people will even go and sleep there. They wait families of the CPDM because of a bottle of beer, sardine and bread. The CPDM man knows what I'm talking about. And they will dance, and then at the end they go and drink again one bottle. You can see how people have been reduced to that, a party reduced to bread and sardine. How does a party to produce something fruitful in this country? That people now think that because if you don't call the highest of the head of state, you cannot go. Let me tell you something. What I realized in my investigation is that anybody who is familiar with using that word is someone who's hiding, who has skeleton in the cupboard. Yaoundé hear very well. All those who cannot produce a feedback or a service as expected by their expertise that they were recruited or appointed in that position, but the resort, the result of high instruction, have skeletons in their cupboard. That is why we have the most corrupt regime so far in Central and West Africa now. And you look at it critically, most of them who say high instruction, they hide behind the high instruction to carry out their ungodly acts. And that's why I said, any country that pushes or relegates the laws of the country to the backyard and picks up high instruction functions under the principle of total abuse of democratic principles and good governance. I don't know if the CPD might understand what I'm talking here. If you don't understand it, I can change the language and bring it down to low frequency. So I should understand very well, because those in Yaoundé who are watching me as if I'm acting drama understands that I am repeating. Any government that decides to start acting on high instruction, relegating the laws of the land that governs their modus operandi, means that that government is perpetrating acts of high abuse of democratic principles and good governance. They no longer exist in the system. So at the end of all of this quagmire we find here, with the things of haute instruction de chef de l'État, haute instruction. I said a government that is active will bring them to order. I appointed not to go and be singing my name. The government no longer evaluates what their sycophants do. No. They only spend time sitting and waiting for praises. Of course, those are characteristics of a dictatorial regime. The dictatorial regime, they function on, that is, they dwell on praises than on services rendered. And that's the more reason why, if you put Mr. Shuneh here, even as a Joe in Bonaberry, the first thing is the head of state has instructed us to keep Bonaberry clean. I want to ask this. Is the head of state stooping so low to everything that you do? Very soon the CBD people will tell you that I am going to the toilet under high instruction from the head of state, because they don't have anything to offer again. When I say a system has expired, that is why us who have been on the field, Bonaberry, they know what I'm talking about, and other areas, Limbe 2, Tiko and all the like, telling people go and register massively. It will not be business as usual, Mr. Shuneh, the CPDM, because people that rule on high instruction have expired. We are going to unseat them in that ball. You will not even be able to steal. You will not be able to read them, because I know them. They are working on the mechanism of reading, because we have quite approached Elekam. When people register, they give a receipt. We said no. In some cases, they give receipt. They said this thing, that printing paper is finished. We said no. It is not constitutional. If it is finished, make it available. So people have their receipt that is printed, that comes from the machine that they have registered. Now, when we come about it, these are the mechanisms that they are using to read. That's why the CPD man says, I am confused. But he forgets to know that they are using the high instruction and rigging mechanism to think that they will continue deceiving Cameroonians on high instruction. It will no longer be business as usual, Yaoundé, especially as your senators and parliamentarians are feeling fat and enjoying that in their sessions. Anglophone crisis is not mentioned. If high instruction can stop Anglophone crisis, I will be for high instruction. If high instruction can get the road being constructed, Bamenda Room, as it is bad now around my 25, even the evil forest, practically getting impassable. If high instruction can come from Mr. Shuneh's people in Yaoundé that this road should be constructed, we'll be talking. If high instruction can tell us that the price that we are suffering now, fuel prices are up, everything in the market is up, if high instruction can come in to bring down those prices, I will tell him we are on good footing. Okay. So long as high instruction cannot help these things, it is an expired and archaic system of administration. Finished.
Okay. Mr. Shuneh, some persons think that some highly placed persons like you also said are using high instructions maybe to do business here, to sell some positions to some persons, say that the president has said that you have to do this, you have to do. How do we make sure that high instructions be given the quality, attention, and importance that it deserves, that nobody doubts that this is actually coming from the president of the republic?
Within the context of any political and democratic system, those type of things happen because we have unscrupulous people who always infiltrate the system, even in the United States of America. We heard about the election scam that happened in the USA, how it was purported that Russia infiltrated into their system and sent agents in the USA. Cameroon is not an exception. But I want to make this comment before I continue, that Mr. Fah Elvis, here seated alias Kangaroo Man, would have made a very good crew member in Shakespeare's Caravan when they were going around acting Othello, Macbeth, and the rest. I think we can still come around and form a good team, and we'll make it the lead dramatist. He's a very good dramatist. When Cameroonians come back from a hard day's labor and they sit in front of their TV sets, they should listen to something that can edify them and edify public opinion on how this country should be run. Not all these rantlings from Mr. Fah Elvis. I think you people don't appreciate it. I believe in the rigor and moralization policy of His Excellency Paul Biya. I believe in saying the truth and nothing but the truth, no matter who it hurts.
Even though truth is relative.
I have my values, my Christian values, because I'm a converted Christian. I have my Christian values that politics can't shake it. They remain unshaken in the face of politics. And I say things that I deem them correct, morally correct, not because I want to hang on political wings of my party. Cameroon is not an island of administration. Cameroon is not an island of public governance. The head of state, who is the only person who has received the mandate of Cameroonians, is responsible for any divergence or error caused by any of his ministers. He is the only person who is accountable to Cameroonians, because Cameroonians gave him the mandate. The head of state now appoints a government to take his vision through, and that government is headed by a prime minister who supervises the ministers through the high instructions of the head of state, the man who is the vision bearer. I don't know why it's difficult to sink into your heads. He is the vision bearer, and he gives high instructions to his head of government that he appoints to make sure that the ministers implement that vision. And when in his monitoring and evaluation policy of his government, he realizes that something is going wrong somewhere, he sends high instructions for that issue to be corrected and regulated. Just like in the case of our football, when on the 10th of February 2023, he gave high instructions to the Minister of Youth and Sport and Physical Education to regulate that sector and liaise up with FECAFOOT. That is the association, the FA, that manages football. I don't know where the problem is. The head of state appoints and dismisses ministers at his discretion. He is a vision bearer, and he is the one who has the mandate of Cameroonians. That is why when ministers act under the instructions of the head of state, it is very normal because they were appointed by him, and they render accounts to him and him alone. And Paul Biya renders accounts to Cameroonians who gave him their mandate. This should sink into our heads clearly. I don't know where this confusion is coming from. So, Mr. Kum, the Cameroon is a state of law. Cameroon is a sovereign state. And no matter what happens in the USA, the government of this country doesn't do copy and paste. We govern this country as per the realities of this country. I rest my case for the moment.
Okay, you raise your case for this moment. We're going to take a short break to continue right after. Welcome back. You're watching Prime on My Media Prime. This time around, we're going to be looking at the Cameroon's opposition, asking the question, how much hope do they inspire in Cameroonians as they look forward to elections next year? Dr. Michael Ndimancho, when Cameroonians look at the opposition today, do they have hope that, okay, things are not moving at long last? These are the guys that we know for sure that things can turn around with them.
3 years even before the Senegalese elections, Senegalese we already knew that this is going to be our president, and people were garnering support, especially the diaspora. I remember I was very in touch with the diaspora. We had lots of meetings, online meetings, Zooms, and I mean, I've learned a lot from the Senegalese system. But when you come to Cameroon, imagine that we are some months away from the elections and we don't know who is going to contest the government that we have so much criticized that is not doing anything for Cameroonians. Is it that the opposition, to me, who are very active on the media, are not active on the field? Or is it that now in Cameroon, each person for his own self, and then God for everyone? Because at this point in time, we were supposed to be able to say with exactitude, with certitude, that this is the candidate, oppositional candidate, that we are going to support, or that we are supporting, and that we want Cameroonians to rally behind. But unfortunately, at this point in time, they are rather much more battling among themselves rather than fighting to take power and serve Cameroonians. It is a pity. As a civil society, we are doing our own part. And I know that everybody is testimony of the fact that the registration that is heating up this time around has never happened in Cameroon. It is thanks to us, the civil society, for the great mobilization that we are having Cameroonians to register. And the major questions that we are receiving from Cameroonians is, now that you are asking us to register, yes, we have accepted, we are registering, because you say that things would not more be the same again, that it is always the first time. And we have belief in you that they will be the first time and that things will be done differently in Cameroon. Now tell us, when the first time is happening, who are you proposing to us as an alternative for next year in the opposition? This is where we have a stalemate, because we are also making that kind of, talking with the opposition leaders, and we realize that they are not yet ready themselves. They are not yet ready to take power. So I see Mr. Shuneh is happy. They are happy. No, the civilian is happy, and I say that they have a reason to be happy. And objectively, they have a reason to be happy, because it shows that they have actually taken this country hostage, either diabolically or through secret service sects and all of those. And Cameroonians have remained, I don't want to use again the word, have been zombied. I mean, because how comes that we have over 369 political parties in Cameroon and there is none in the opposition that is showing proof of having to contest in the election, where Cameroonians have reawakened and they are ready to go vote, and they are looking for that candidate that can assure them. Secondly, when we want to talk about a candidate, we are also talking about a candidate that the people see and that the people don't only hear, just like higher instructions that we are talking about. We are talking about a candidate that the people can see, because the same thing can repeat tomorrow. We know of candidates in Cameroon. There are, of course, but there are candidates that we only hear them, we do not see them. We do not have on the ground candidates that show themselves to the people and say, here I am. Like we will have the legendary Nijon Frundi, may so rest in peace, who will come and see, now me this. And the people actually in all uniformity, they will say, yes, you are the candidate we want. But we have candidates in Cameroon, the opposition candidates, who are not assuring at all. Yes, we can have a candidate of the SDF who has gone round. At least he has made a national tour. And I think that from the percentage, I give the SDF 65%. And I think that they should keep pushing on. Let them push on, because the people need more than that. It is not just about the national chairman to move around. It is also about the cells to work. It is also about the regions to work. It is also about the party heads, militants to work. And therefore, at this point in time, we are watching and we are saying that registration ends on the 31st of August. And when this registration must have ended, the next question we'll be looking at is to see that political party that would actually rise up and tell us that we are ready. Let us see something being done. Let us not only hear people blowing hot air on TV stations.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Those appointed should work in line with the laws and not high instructions. Heavy shooting here early this morning. Business are dying, people suffering. Men in uniform extorting money from citizens. Okay. We wait high instructions for for stop guns from smoking. The maker is writing from my 16 there in Boya. Yes, how much hope do you guys inspire in Cameroonians as they look forward to elections next year? Do they really sleep today knowing that, okay, like was the case in Nigeria, where we saw a coalition being formed 3 years before elections that saw President Buhari come to power? He just raised the issue of Senegal. Yes, in Cameroon, can we clearly say that Cameroonians are fixed? They have an idea of how things may turn out next year?
Well, I will tell you that Cameroonians have.
Okay.
And why I'm saying so, I would equally like to remind Dr. Ndimancho that when you are a civil society, you should focus on being a civil society. Because I happen to be part of civil society that is working on people to come out and register massively.
So you are still also a politician.
That's what I'm saying. Excuse me, I'm coming. I'm here as a politician now.
Okay,
I'm coming as a politician. What I'm saying is that I am a member of the civil society. It's very possible. It depends on how you operate. If you can keep a clear cut of your operations, it's different. I am here as a politician. There's a time I'll be on air as a civil society of that very organization you're talking about. But what I want to say is that a civil society does not play the position of a political party. Because when you want to know who is the candidate, somebody can even think that you have been sponsored to play either for the CPDM or for the opposition, you understand? So you stay neutral because I'm coming, this is political science I'm talking now. Those who understand political science will know what I'm talking about, that a civil society does not misconstrue his objective as looking for a presidential candidate. So political parties, myself and the CPDM and any person, is our duty. We could be worried who is the presidential candidate.
You don't know the rule.
We could be worried who will be. Now, excuse me. Anybody who has no political understand what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the modus operandi. Civil societies are non-apolitical. They are not apolitical also. It means that their way they function is that your role is promoting good governance. And how do you promote good governance? You tell the people their role is to come out massively and register to vote because it is their fundamental right. That's the function of a civil society as per se. But when a civil society wants to start finding a presidential candidate, it goes out of the norms. We must be able to keep this clear as a clear cut. I'm sorry to educate you on that, doctor.
No, it's not education.
Now, while I educate, even if he will not want to understand.
On educating.
Why he will not want to understand, let me move ahead. Now, on the issues of coalition or not, I have said several times that when you want to be a political analyst, it's different from a civil society activist or analyst. Because in political analysis, if you want to get a comprehensive political analysis, you do what they call comprehensive political analysis, comparative analysis rather. In comprehensive political analysis, you take a look at what happened in country A. Is it the same thing that happened in country B? If it cannot happen, what is hindering it from happening? I have said the sociological components, the sociological and anthropological components of political evolutions in Senegal or South Africa cannot be the same with Cameroon. Because the historical backgrounds, the findings, the behavior of the people, that's the sociology and the anthropological setup, it varies from one country to another. And that's why I said that the same mechanism Faye used to be president in Senegal must necessarily be the same mechanism that Cameroon will use to unseat Paul Biya. No. First, Senegal has what we call advanced democracy. You and I know that the president in Senegal presidency is not above 2 terms.
Yeah, but Cameroon has advanced democracy.
No. Cameroon's democracy is limping. I repeat again, in Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, you cannot take above 2 terms. It's enshrined in their constitution. For Cameroon, presidential term is unlimited. In a Kangaroo system where the presidential term is unlimited, you cannot pick that kind of system. You compare with a presidential system that is limited. It's day and night.
Yeah, but now let's stay with it.
Yes.
In the context of
yes. Now I was coming so we understand because I wanted to situate our doctor here.
Yeah.
Now coming back to the system, I said the hope is there. What is the hope that is there? If I look at like the presidential doctor did, it stands to them that people came in massively. You see, these are statements that we make errors on air and without knowing.
Will you talk about what
now when we move on
as an opposition party?
And then when we move on,
what I states.
Now when I move on,
change it.
When I move on,
registration on the race and we are working.
When I move on,
that's how you will keep on distracting people.
Doctor, I don't know your contribution. Just be gentle. You are going out of your track.
No.
Now, what am I saying here?
Concentrate on the topic.
Doctor,
don't talk about what I have said.
I am the one talking. The one talking. I did not interject. No, so.
Okay, go ahead.
I was being gentle.
No.
So feel free. Don't interject.
No, because
all right. Now, so what are we saying here? When it comes to the process, Mr. Leo, how prepared are we?
Okay.
We are prepared in that almost all the political parties, including CRM, have been involved in sensitizing people to come out massively and register. As even CPDM is involved. I want to be honest here. This is what we call honest political analysis. Why they're doing, the magnitude might be different. Some of the political parties like CRM could be like in a crusade system to make more to register. But I want to let you know, Mr. Kum, that what the results we get at the end is that people are becoming more enlightened than before. Because political parties have decided to be on the ground. Now, you realize here that for the campaigns on the ground, what is peculiar to Cameroon political system is that the political parties are more active on the field than on TV. That's a fact. Whether it is SDF, whether it's which one, I have seen them. We have been meeting at junctions. Meaning that they have understood that in as much as the people could have education through the media, but another problem that they need to do is field work. And that's why I will tell you that if you look at the indications now, it tells you that before or latest August 31st, the number of voter registry lists must have doubled more than what we had in the previous elections. Because as of now, it's on a good footing. And that's why we also say that in as much as we have our flags for Elekam, we also appreciate them because they too have equally been accompanying us. I have to be honest with you, Mr. Liu. And that's the most reason why we could have some discrepancies or maybe papers not being available to print and all that. But I think they too, even on Sundays, we find them on the field, meaning that there is that high, there's that voter appetite that is cutting across the national triangle because people are yearning to be taking part, to take part in it. That's not even all. Let me also tell you, Mr. Liu, to be candid, I also appreciate those within the religious domain. We were even at the various ceremonial grounds for the Islam feast and all the like. Even the imams themselves are telling their faithfuls to go and register.
High instructions.
No, not high instruction. No. High instruction is at the kickstart of the CPDM. I'm saying even they themselves are appealing on their Muslim faithfuls to go and register. Now, where they are going on, you now realize that even church leaders from other churches too. The Bishop Michael BB in Boya, I have seen him several times. Equals starting Christians to make sure they should, even those in the Pentecostal areas. So it's to tell you that there is a high sense of voter apathy that has cropped up in the minds of Cameroonians, that many, I say many, have now understood that they must be partaker of a change in a system. So now the important thing at the end of it is whether they are reaching massively to come and vote the CPDM or not. All is that the voter appetite tells us that there are indications on the ground. Now, as to who will be the leader is another ball game. The ball game will be worked anytime, anyhow. It could work months before, it could work within, it could be an agenda kept for the political parties. But I think that what we should be telling Cameroonians is that the fact that many, especially in the restive areas, Mr. Kum, if I tell you that people in Bamenda, people in Boya, people in Tiko, people in Limbe, irrespective of the political parties we're talking about, are equally mobilizing and getting set for it, it tells you that these were things we could not find before in the restive areas. And therefore, with this high level of awareness, which should be attributed to all, I say all, not a civil society as Dr. Ndimancho is playing grammar here. I say to all. That's why I say honestly that the traditional rulers have done their part. Mr. Kum, churches have done their part. The Muslim part have done their part. Political parties are doing their part. So the end of it is that they know, for those who go into register now as the number is increasing, they know that there will be time for a leader to be decided by they themselves. And so we don't have the right to force them on a leader, but I think as time is going on, the political calendar is unfolding.
The political calendar
is unfolding, and so people will make their choices, which they are right.
You agree with Dr. Ndimancho that you guys are smiling over what is happening, or you are scared that a hurricane is coming to take you guys out of power next year?
Yes, Mr. Liu. I want to fervently, for one of the very first times, agree with Dr. Ndimancho.
No, he's no longer here
that voter apathy in Cameroon is now a thing of the past. That kangaroo man here, whose penalty shooter went on air and calling on Cameroonians not to register because their votes will be rigged, is now calling on his militants to also go and register. It has always been the will and the zeal and the vision of the head of state that the 30 million Cameroonians go to the polls and decide who is going to lead them. It is certain that Cameroonians know that we can change from better to worse. That's why they are very cautious. And Cameroonians believe in the devil they know than the angel they don't know. You know, governing a nation like Cameroon is not like running a cyber cafe, because you see political charlatans from left and right. They are promising doom for the CPDM, yet you don't see what they have done as a political party. They boycott simple municipal elections. They boycott legislative elections, and then they are gunning to come in for presidential elections. A political party, as I earlier said on this studio one time, that the highest political party in this country that has ever put in candidates for the legislative elections is the UNGP. They put in 65 out of 180, which means that they have never ever been ready to govern this country, because you govern this country from the legislature. The SDF, with all its magnanimity, has never ever put more than 60 candidates for the legislative elections, which draws us down to the fact that they have never ever been ready to govern this nation. The only political institution in this country that has ever shown the will, the zeal, and the capacity to govern this country is the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. And that is why Cameroonians from north, south, east, and west have always bestowed their confidence in the head of state for the clairvoyance that he has for this nation. But fortunately or unfortunately, there are always some bad grains, unscrupulous politicians who infiltrate the CPDM, and they create bad records that calls for criticism of this party. But like in any bag of rice, not all the grains are correct. But I want to guarantee you that Cameroonians have adhered to the call of the head of state, especially the youths, to register and bring advanced democracy and continue with the advanced democracy that has been instituted by the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, in this country. And I trust his clairvoyance, and I believe that come 2025, he will give us a sense of direction, and we are going to adhere, because in his clairvoyance we trust.
Okay, in his clairvoyance, the militants of the CPDM party trust. Now, we are talking about the population, whether they have hope. Are you saying that they are so despaired, they are confused? And I want those who are watching us to show proof that you tell us what you think about the opposition. Are you confident that there is somebody who is taking you out of this current situation in the opposition? And if you have such a name, can you send us just send a name of the person you think is the best person who can win elections for you next year? Who do you believe in as you look across the political prism in Cameroon today? Just send it to us so that we can also have a notion of how you think about the political chessboard in Cameroon today. Yes, you as a person, when you look across the political scene today, who inspires hope? Who is that person that you think can take the boat through within the CPDM or across the opposition?
Of course, for now, looking at the popular view of the people, the CPDM remains outstanding because they are everywhere. But now, if we have to really go by the issue of change, and of course, when we want to talk about change, you see, the way Mr. Fah responds to me is exactly the way the opposition responds. They go out of the issue in context, and then they get on fighting themselves. Instead of looking at the context in which we are talking about to get going ahead, Now they keep on attacking peripheral issues.
They are asking, they are not answering.
Good. No, I'm not deviating. I just want to. I'm just putting. Okay. All right. Let me get back to the question. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You could be a sponsored civil society.
Okay, that is always the thing. You know, they get so touched and angered when you want to talk about the problem.
I said you could be. I've not said you are.
The problems of the opposition. So what? That is the thing. That's the thing, and that's why they keep on fighting themselves.
I see.
And I was saying that. You see now.
Continue.
I'm the highest. Okay. Anyway, no problem. But I'm saying that going to the opposition, honestly, Mr. Kamto has a following. But that he has hurdles, he has adversities, which of course I doubt if he may break through. He can never break through. That objectively. Now, objectively now, the opposition party and leader that we think that has done something that Cameroonians have heard and have seen is Joshua Osei. We will have been talking about Gabriel Levy, but he too has some hurdles that he may not be able to break through. But let us be talking about factual things that Cameroonians can rely on. If I were to say now, objectively, that who are you depending on as an opposition leader, I think it's only Joshua Osei. That is an issue of the SDF. So I think one of the things that we have to do, even though Mr. Fah says civil society should be on our lane, the civil society strengthens democratic governance. That is the issue. And you cannot do that blindly. You must be able to put it on the scale and strike. That is it. If you don't put it on a scale and strike, then you will only be playing but even partisan kind of politics. So the point is
from politics.
No, really, no, not really.
There's day and night.
No, not really.
Society promotes good governance.
Really. Yes.
And not political agendas.
If you accept that civil society can galvanize, can sensitize people to vote, to register, then is that politics?
No,
it's not politics.
It's a civic duty. That's not politics.
That is fine. That is fine. And now, I'm just trying to give the tenets.
Is that analyzing?
I'm trying to give the tenets now of who a good and a reliable opposition party should be. If someone asks me who is a reliable opposition party, and I give these tenets I've given, I'm talking about Joshua Osei because first, at least he has gone around the country. He has met the people. At least he has sacrificed. They have not only heard him on TV, they have seen him. I talk about the SDF first because you can trust me, because at least it is a party that has stood the test of time and it has always been there. Even though, like Mr. Shuneh said, of course, they have never really represented the country per se. But then they can strengthen that representation with time. They can. But not talking about those who are dancing what we call buffet dance, who cannot stand a curve thrown at them. At one moment, you are for the fact that the constitution, the electoral law does not favor you to go for election. At another time, you are saying that no, we really have to go for election. And another time, you say no, because of the Anglophone crisis, we are not going to go for election. At another time, the Anglophone crisis is still on. You say no, we are going for election. We cannot trust this inconsistency. And that is why we are looking at these tenets and these principles and these guidelines to be able to advise people that this is the kind of candidate that is consistent. And that's why I talk about, Mr. Kum asked me precisely who I think normally as a civil society I'm not supposed to already say. But I think that I say by giving the program. It's not the politics. We are on the program. We are on a TV program. We are on an educative program.
You want to do at the same time. You are taking sides and moving.
No, we are not taking sides. We are advising the people. We are advising the
sponsored agenda civil society.
It is not sponsored. It is not sponsored, Mr. Fah. It is not sponsored. We are doing a noble job.
Please, all of us are in a forum, Prime Hour forum. I will drop all of your responses that you are sending as to the person that you think should win elections next year. Just send it to us. The politicians that are out there. Just send the names to us and we'll drop them inside. I'm sure you are done, eh?
Yeah, I'm done. Okay. Let's go to
but now many persons are confused. Because I've had programs here where people say we are confused on who to vote. How do you think the opposition should also help build confidence in the population to know that we are serious? Because the population has been asking for coalition for a very long time, even if coalition is not there. But what are the signs that the population should be seeing to prove that there is any reason to believe that
Okay.
the opposition is the better alternative?
Let me start, because I wanted to educate Doctor on that a little while ago.
Educating me. You are giving your point of view.
I wanted to start on that,
It's
but thank God
subjective.
you just come in. You know, with political analysis, almost all of us we say we're political analysts, but at the long run of it, it takes a further aspect of you in that field to be able to come out with that. Now, what can Cameroonians know, or how do they know that? I'll give you what they call characteristics of a good political party. Characteristics of a good political party. One, the characteristics of a good political party is known through its manifesto as point number one. What am I saying? For Cameroonians to know who to vote, it means that political parties are to take their manifesto closer to the people. Just like we keep telling people, we had one of the main agendas of recent before our march that led to the arrest of many militants. We're talking about the war in the northwest, southwest. We're talking about the COVID issue gate. We're talking about the issues of the can gate. Those were our that is our three main focal points away from the other manifestos we had. And notably, Cameroonians who have understood that. That is, if you go through your messages, there are some people there from Loom who still want to adhere as you're talking to the party. Yes. Because I'm explaining to you that people who understand the modus operandi of the party or the manifesto is what can make them to move in. And so that's what Cameroonians should be expecting to hear and to understand further. So that's why I said that as us as political parties, we need to take that manifesto closer to the people ever than before. It forms part of the characteristics of a good political party. Another part of it, of the political party, is the governing mechanism of that party. How is it structured? Because in the structure of a political party, you can be able to know whether a political party can deliver or not. What are the caliber of people are there in the party? Does it give semblance to youth? Does it give a role model to women? If that political party has a cabinet or what they call national ESCO, how is the composition? Is it made up of women? Take a look at like the government ministries in Cameroon. Since as they are manned by the CPDM, how many women do they have? How many youths do they have? Once you have women lacking in that quota, we have youth lacking in that quota, it's already telling you there's an aspect with that kind of party. And those are what we call characteristics of good parties. If you find these aspects absent, know that that party has more to do than what it is initiating or propagating for the time being. Now, what we also trying to do for parties to understand, or for the Cameroonians to know, that the party's main business is the grassroots mobilization. Now, when I say grassroots mobilization, what does it mean? It means the ability for people to see with the party at the grassroots without money changing hands. I repeat, without money changing hands gives you an indication of a good political party. Mr. Leo, what am I saying? For a party to be as good as it is, up to the extent of getting sympathizers closer, the people must not be paid to carry out the exercise of that party. For example, if a party wants to march, people must not be paid 2,000, 225, 3,000 francs before they march on a national day to showcase the prowess of that party. In a case where money is changing hands, it means the people are still, they are only being bought over. Like we saw in the last 20th May, if I tell you a handful of bike riders who had t-shirts that were bought by a political party, given to them, and they wore it, and after march pass, they were on a queue, long line, picking over 1,000 francs, and then they'll tell you, go and sit there and drink, go and sit there and drink. Now, these are aspects that Cameroonians who do that, because as I'm speaking now, they understand what it takes for you to draw a clear cut. You want me to join you, are you giving me money? If you give me money to come and join you, there's a problem somewhere along the line. So those are the characteristics of the things I'm saying, that it will enable Cameroonians to know which party is that. Another point to determine a good party is on this anecdote or on this general African saying that if a tree does not bear fruits, good fruits, children will not throw stones at it. It becomes obvious. Just like if I listened to Mr. Shuneh was speaking here a couple of minutes ago, like talking about some charlatan political parties and all the like. And the question is, do you tremble when that charlatan political party, what they call petit parti politique, makes a move? If you tremble, it means that party is a force to reckon with. If you sit and say this party should not march because it's not represented in the National Assembly, when you know there is no law, I repeat, no law in the country that states that for parties to march on a national day that is called Unity Day, National Unity Day, they must be represented in the National Assembly or the Senate. What other law does not exist? And a high institution comes in and puts that in. It means that there is that fear factor of progress. That's why I said that if parties don't act like good fruits where you throw stones at, it means something is wrong along the line. And this is what obviously people like the party like CRM and other parties have been getting it hot from the regime in order to try ways to silence the party. So at the end of all of this, you will now ask me, which party is better placed or could be placed to portray itself as a candidate, given that some are clamoring for opposition? I come to say here clean and clear, what we can appeal on Cameroonians is that they just need to register. Why they register? They should now look at these characteristics I've given on the ground and decide which party fits these characteristics of a good party on the ground. Without necessarily saying you must not necessarily vote CRM, no whatever party, but I think with the ideas on the ground, Elekam is on. Who are you seeing on the ground? Who do you find at their dooryard appealing for you to come and register, even if you will not vote the party in question, but to exercise your civic duty? These are the indications of a good party. As I said some time ago, Mr. Leung, if you want to know a party that has influence in the country, take a move, for example. Let's come to Cameroon. To know, in simple terms, whether CRM has weight or not, if I announce here that CRM will be meeting in 2 days' time at Wrong Point Daido, this night, Mr. Shuneh, and his court will send the area to be heavily militarized this night, not tomorrow. That's 2 days before the time. It will be heavily militarized. Now, why do you think that some parties will want to hold conventions, want to hold meetings rather, gathering? You apply and it's rejected. Others apply and it's not rejected. It is because the system has that fear factor. And that's why I said that fear factor can be seen clearly by Cameroonians. If you go to the northern region, Dr. Buche, who heads the party in the northern region, has applied for a northern region federation meeting. That one has been refused categorically by the administrative authorities in that area till today as I speak. But if you ask me, let anybody in the crowd there who has political party go to any judge's office and say you want to hold a meeting in 2 or 3 days time, you will discover that you will not be stopped. Why am I saying so? You can only be shot stones at if you have an influence that can jeopardize the presence of another person. And that's why when I tell people that, people have risen. You look at the numbers. I don't want to be giving people, I don't want to do political campaign for MRC. I'm giving general political analysis here. No, I don't want to get to that because I want Cameroonians to fully understand the characteristics I'm giving as for good party.
Don't be afraid.
And when Cameroonians when Cameroonians understand, they'll begin to know from what I'm saying whether which party has weight on the ground or not. At the end of all of these political rhetorics, we come to realize that you could have parties that will want to create a change. The good thing I would say to Cameroonians, which I'm happy, is that almost all Cameroonians want a change. Even within the rank and file of the CPDM.
Yes.
They want to see something new. Yes. Which means people are fed up that you cannot be eating rice for over 40 years and you are still at the same point. That's why we linked to the other issue of high instruction that if we could have high instruction that let price hikes get down, then would have said high instruction is helping us. But the moment we could go on all about this, which parties do we have that get closer to the people, to the plight of the people? If we have that, those are characteristics of good parties. But parties that come closer to you only when elections are at the corner, you discover that there is a question mark, as it is a usual thing with those in power, that they will sit. They will only when time is coming. Take for example, they will tell you that they want to construct the bridge at Muki Garage in Boya. The communique has come up and they tell you it will take 6 months. Now that's the bridge that the width of the bridge is no more than 2 meters. But they will tell you it will take 6 months. Okay. Now, what is the characteristics? That they will take from the CPDM, they will earmark projects now and leave them halfway, earmark them, so that they give the same blood to the people that they want to work. When time reaches, they abandon. These are characteristics of parties you can judge if they are on a good footing or not. Okay. At the end of all of it, we are all heading towards a change. And I think that the CPDM man here will agree with me, even in his heart, that the things that are not moving with any Cameroonian are not also moving on his own part. The dependency, of family dependency now, for people who are not employed, is also weighing on him as a Cameroonian, and weighing even on the colonel, weighing on the divisional officer, weighing on all of that, which means the need for job to be created is primordial. I'm sure he knows. And that's why if you ask him behind, away from here, he will tell you that the truth is that he's tired with President Pobia. He knows what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please just send the names of the person you think should win elections next year, the persons you believe in. Send the names to us, please. We need it urgently. Just send the name of the person. You know the names of our political leaders, no? Send them to us. Yes, Mr. Shuneh. The CPDM should be laughing, smiling, that okay, the opposition is not very organized, but the opposition could be cooking a very deadly blow behind the curtains to land on you guys?
No, Mr. Liu.
You are not in their kitchens.
No, we are all political analysts. We understand the political atmosphere, and I want to say that the opposition of this country has become a laughing stock to Cameroonians. You just see here Mr. Fah, that I will call the songbird of the CPD, of the MRC, who has started disassociating himself from the MRC because there are people who are revered political prostitutes. They are watching at the environment to see when they will start doing cross-carpeting when 2025 will approach. That is why he is refusing to publicly present himself as a fervent supporter of the MRC. But the only thing I will agree with him is that the MRC is has a renounced record for public disorder. And that is why if MRC announces any event anywhere...
Is it not their
Let me land. It is their right. When they announce any event, public events in this country are controlled by the divisional and the senior divisional officers who manage that area of jurisdiction. That is why His Excellency Paul Biya, as the guarantor of the peace and tranquility of Cameroonians, makes sure that public order should be well controlled. And that is why when MRC announces an event, the military must go there to secure that environment, because they have shown a good track record of bringing public disorder and destroying public property most often.
I'm not sure. Where did they destroy their property?
Majority of their militants were attributed partisan to the destruction of the Cameroon embassy in Paris.
You can hear somebody's utterance on air.
Let me continue.
You can hear somebody's utterance on air. When I say that, it's a kangaroo system.
Let me continue my analysis.
You don't have investigation on the ground. You don't have facts.
This songbird will not allow me to talk.
I will not allow, because when you accuse my party wrongly, when you are a gangster party, I have every reason to attack you.
I've made that correction already.
Yeah.
Because those were not CRM militants.
That brigade, I think brigade anti-Sadina or something like that.
Most of them are followers of the MRC.
What are followers? Can you give me their names?
No, those are just allegations.
And their party cards?
Please.
Their membership?
Please.
It's okay.
Yeah. Go on.
Thank you, Songbird, for giving me the opportunity to continue.
Of course. Continue in your last days in the party.
When it comes to which party can be able to bring continuity and keep the life wire of the political life of this country alive, it boils down to any political party that has a manifesto that is national. And without any fear of contradiction or favor, the only political party in this country that has a national manifesto that has pure representation of all Cameroonians from north, south, east, and west is no other party but the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. Look at the CDU. You and I know that CDU is about people of the noon. Look at the UNDP. You and I know that UNDP is about some northerners. Look at the PCRN. Oh, it is Kuna. Oh, it is Honorable Cabral Libi. We can't say. You see that when a political leader like Cabral Libi, he's from the Bassa tribe, you see all his parliamentarians who come from the Bassa tribe. He wins in his region. UNDP, they will win in the north, somewhere around Garwa, around the peripheries. The CDU, you see they always have one parliamentarian from the noon, and then they will have the council in the noon. You look at the rest of the other minor political parties, and you would bear with me that we can't judge the MRC because they have not proven anywhere in any local elections.
But yet you are scared of them.
So you look at the party like the MRC, we cannot be scared of a political party like Dr. Ndimancho was saying.
Which party is a government attacking?
Who declared that they won't go into elections because they had a hidden agenda of dismantling this country through a military coup. They said they are not going into any elections because There is crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of this country. Your purported charismatic leader who loves northwesterners and southwesterners so much has never stepped his foot there to look into the predicament of what the people are going through. Yet he wants to use them as a stepping stone to ascend to his hidden agenda at the helm of this country. It can't work. A coalition cannot be built on tribal links. This is a fundamental reason why the opposition in this country will always remain fragile. Fragile because all their factors are egocentric. They are fighting for their stomach. They don't have that will, that zeal to work for the majority of Cameroonians. So the only political party that has that manifesto that unites all Cameroonians, no matter your tribe, no matter your color, no matter your size, whether you are from where, the only party that brings all Cameroonians under that umbrella of national unity and integrity is no other party but the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. Yes, I say so, but it doesn't change the fact that we still have some unscrupulous politicians in the CPDM who want to spoil the agenda of the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya. That is very clear. I have always said that I have my Christian values, that politics does not shake them, and I stand on those values. I concur with the fact that the CPDM is the only national party in this country, but I also declare that we have very unscrupulous people in the CPDM who are spoiling the image of the head of state.
Okay, we want to thank you guys for coming. Fah Elvis Tayong, the Under Secretary for Communication for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. Dr. Michael Ndimancho, who is a key member of Cameroon Civil Society, also lecturer with some universities in Cameroon, and the business mogul, Mr. Shuneh, who is here representing the CPDM party. We want to thank you all guys for watching. Keep the names of those you think should win next year's election coming. We are going to do a poll on them in our Prime WhatsApp forum. And we also want to say thank you to you, Desmond and Eli, for producing this edition of the program. Tabi Tambe Bryant for supervision. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.